Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF Yomi, Maseches Harayos DAF Yud Beis. We begin right on top. Back to the topic of the Meshicha, the way they would anoint the Kohanim Gedolim, the kings, using the fragrant oil, the Shemen HaMishcha. One of those was a king by the name of Yoyachaz. Asks the Gemara, really? At that time, the Shemen HaMishcha had been put away, had been hidden by his own father, for concern that they're going to be plundered and looted. The Arain and all the associated holy items, lest they be taken away by the Goyim, they hid them deep underground, under the Beis HaMikdash. Asks the Gemara, Umi hava Shemen HaMishcha. Is it so that the Shemen HaMishcha, this anointment oil, was around at his time? V'atanya, we have a brisa that it was all put away by his own father Yoshio HaMelech. Mishenignas Arain. So when the Arain, the ark containing the luches, was put away by Yoshio, along with it went also the Shemen HaMishcha, V'tzinsenes Haman, the container with the sampling of the man, which Hashem told them to put away, to store away for future generations, to show them that Hashem is the ultimate provider. Umakli shel Aaron, the staff of Aaron, the miraculous stick, which sprouted forth, the nuts, the almonds, right? Shkedeh ufracheh, together with its almonds and blossoms, and together with the Aaron, also went along v'argos sheshalchu plishtim doiron li Yisrael, the treasure chest sent by the plishtim as a gift to Hashem when they took the Aaron away, and then they encountered just hardship, and they sent it right back together with a gift. So all that goes together with the Aaron Shenema Res Klei Hazoav Asher Yeshivoisem Loi Asham Tasimu Ba'argas Mitzidoi. So the golden vessels that you were going to send back with the Aaron, this was by the Plishtim. Tasimu Ba'argas Mitzidoi Vishlachtem Oise V'holach. So we learn that the Argos, this treasure chest, accompanied the Aaron, and whatever happened to the Aaron, in this case, was stored away in hiding. Likewise, this treasure chest, Umignosai, who in fact hid the Aaron together with all the other artifacts, it was Yeshio Melech Yehuda Ganzai, Shirah Shekasa Batar, because he was concerned due to the fact that the pasuk was predicting that Yelech Hashem Oischa Ves Malkacha, that Hashem will lead you into exile. He figured, let me put away the Aaron before it happens, lest it be taken away as well. Tziva v'guna azum. So he instructed, and he had all these items hidden. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Vayemer la'Leviyim, hamavinim echol Yisrael l'kdeshim l'Hashem. So he addressed the Leviyim, and he says, hide the Aaron quickly. Tenuas Aaron hakodesh bevayis hashabon shleim ben David melech Yisrael. So hide it in the underground, chambers deep below the Beis HaMikdash that was built by Shlomo HaMelech. Ein lochem masa b'kosef. You're no longer going to be carrying the Aaron. Ata ivdu es Hashem lekechem es Am Yisrael. This is the way to serve Hashem now. Hide the Aaron, lest it gets captured. So the Aaron itself was hidden deep underground. V'amr b'lazar. Likewise, the Tzintzenes Haman. This is learned by way of Gzeira Shava Asya Sham. We connect the word Sham, which we find by the Tzintzenes Haman. It says Shama. We connect it to the word Sham that we find by the Aaron. So it shared the same, fate. Asya Mishmeres. Mishmeres, we connect the Aaron HaKohen's stick, where it says Mishmeres, to the Yaman, where it also says the word Mishmeres, so it went along with it. Asya Doros Doros, and likewise, we extend this to the Shemen HaMishcha as well, where we have the Lashon Doros, it says L'Dorosechem, and by the Man, it also has similar wording, L'Dorosechem, so they were all packaged and put away together. Okay, so how could we find the Shemen HaMishcha in the later generations? How could it have been applied to the later king? Amra Papa, you're right. Yochas never actually received the original Shemen HaMishcha. It was sort of a imitation. Ba'farsa Madachia, they used a persimmon, oil, special, pure farsamoin oil for this purpose. This was sort of a substitute for the original Shemen HaMishcha. Tana Rabbanan. So how did they go about applying this oil on the malachim? How would they do it? It was around their head. They would spread it around their head in a circle like a crown, because this was part of the crowning process, right? Kohanim wrote about the Kohanim Gedolim kimin ki. It was applied like a key. What is a key? There was a letter in Greek called a key, which Rashi illustrates as a ches. So basically, you would begin in the front between the eyes, and then run it towards the back, which is pretty much a semicircle, which is like a ches, a letter ches. Now, in the Torah we find that they would smear the oil, like we just described, but also it says Vayitzak, they would drip it on his head. So which one was first? Tanichad, one brisa, it says Batchila Maitzkin, first they drip it on the head, Shemen al Rishai, V'chakach, and then then they apply it between his eyebrows and spread it around. So first the drip, then the application. Tani Idach, some say the other way. But first they would apply it by smearing it, and then they would drip it on his head. What's the machlekes about? Says the Gemara, Tanoi, actually it's machlekes Tanoim. Ikad Amri, some hold Mashicha Adifa, the smearing takes priority. It's more important, therefore it comes first. Because the Amri, some say Yitzika Adifa, no, the dripping is more important and comes first. My time at the Manam Yitzika Adifa, why does he say the dripping is first? Because we find a pasuk which says Vayitzik Mishem Mishchal Roisha Aaron. First it says he dripped it, and then he applied it, and he smeared it. So you see, Yitzika comes first. Uman Damar Mashiach Adifa, the other one who says spreading it around comes first, and that's better. Why? My time, because the pasuk, because he holds Mashiach takes priority, because we find by the holy vessels in the Midbar, which did not have Yitzika, there was no dripping on them, it was just Mashiach. So you see that Mashiach is more prevalent and takes priority. Asks the Gemara, but the pasuk indicates otherwise. The pasuk we just quoted goes and then so how could he switch it around? The pasuk means matam vayitzik. Why did he drip it? Because he already smeared it mishum de vayimshach, because vayimshach comes first. Tanarabana, we went to the brisa describing the Shemen HaMishcha, how it was applied on Arei Na'koyin. Kashem and Atoyev, we have a pasuk in Tehillim like the oil Yered al Azokin Zakan Aroin, which was found, which came onto the beard of Aaron HaKohen. The pasuk continues, it's compared to the dew on the mountain of Chermoin, Ketal Chermoin, etc. The pasuk here is teaching us, there were two drips of the Shemen HaMishcha which miraculously stayed put and were sort of attached to his beard and miraculously stayed in place. That's the way the Chachamim understood and interpreted this pasuk. Amra Papa Tana. So we learn in the Brisa, Kashum Saper, where an Aaron HaKohen would converse with people, and actually the Tosfos HaRosh says Mesaper means Mesaper Zakane, when he would trim his beard. So there would be concern about the drops of Shemen HaMishcha being shorn off. So they would actually travel upwards to the base of his hair, to the base of the beard. They would travel upward to the roots, to the base of the beard, so that they don't trickle off. If it was conversing, so the movement, right? The speaking, the talking movement, or according to Tosfos HaRosh, because it was being trimmed, so it had to travel away, and it stayed there. And because of this on account of this shemen that was applied to Aaron, Moshe Rabbeinu, his brother Doeg was concerned. Amar, he says, maybe I misused the shemen, chas v'shalom, alter b'shemen mishcha. Perhaps when I applied it to Aaron HaKohen, I was touching it and I misused it by personally benefiting from the oil which was on my skin. He was concerned about that. Yotze Baskel ba'amro, comes a Baskel and calls out, Ka shemen atoiv, don't worry, says the heavenly voice to him. It's like the this shemen atoiv on Aaron HaKohen is like ketal chermoin, like the dew out in the mountain. To tell you ma tal chermoin ein bo me'il, just like the dew on the Chermoin mountain has no me'il concerns. Likewise, this oil was used properly, no worries. Av shemen hamishcha shebezakan Aaron ein bo me'il. Likewise, the oil on Aaron HaKohen's beard, there's no me'il concerns. V'adayin haya Aaron doeg. But still, Aaron HaKohen himself was concerned. Amar, he says, Shema Moshe lo'moel, sure, perhaps Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, he's not guilty of me'ilah, aval ani ma'alti. But perhaps I did commit me'ilah by perhaps having the oil drip on places where it didn't need to drip on, and perhaps I benefited from it. Once again, Yotza Baskel ba'amrle, Baskel calls out and says, don't worry. Hinei ma'tuv v'manoim sheves acham gam yochad. The two brothers are in the same status. Ma Moshe lo'moel, just like Moshe Rabbeinu committed no me'ilah, af ato you as well, no concern, lo me'alto, there's no me'ilah as well. When they would do the Mashiach, 4 kings, it would be done on a stream, near a stream, Kadesh Timoshe Malchusam, which provided a good simon. Just like the stream flows on, carries on, uninterruptedly, likewise, their Malchus, their kingship, should just carry on. That's why they chose that location, Shenema, as we find, when David, Hamelech, told them, to be Moisheich, to apply the shemen on Shlomo, his son. He says, take him to the Gichain stream, Shenema vayomer Hamelech lahem kechui mochem es abde denechem, and bring him down. V'ratem oisel al Gichain. That's where you do the Mashiach as a good simon. Amar b'ami hayman de boy leda. Speaking about simanim used to test situations. So if a fellow would like to know imasig shata, if he will complete the year, if he will live out the year, iloi or not, nisli shrage, he should light a candle, basar yomi, during the 10 days of Aseres Yemei Tshuva, devein Rosh Hashanah and Kippurim, and he should light it b'beis lo noshev zika, in a home which is wind, air, no breeze coming through it. Imashach nohiri. So if in fact the lamp just burns and burns down till it consumes all its oil, then he knows he'll have a good year. Neita de masak shat, he knows he'll survive the year. But otherwise, there's concern. Uman de boy lemavet v'iska. Likewise, if one is embarking on a business venture, uboy lemede, he'd like to test and to know if in fact he'll have success or not. He should do as follows: little bit time he should raise a chicken for this purpose and see if the chicken succeeds. Ishamin, if he gets fat, v'shapar, and improves and gets plump, matzlach, then he knows his business venture will succeed. Likewise, if one is about to leave on a trip, he'd like to know if in fact he'll return home safely and come back home or not. So he should go about as follows. He should walk into a dark room. If he sees a secondary shadow to himself, basically the initial shadow, the dark shadow, is basically as tall as the person. So if he's 6 feet tall, the first 6 feet is considered primary shadow, but beyond that it sort of fades. So he should test and see if he has a secondary shadow. Then he knows he'll be successful later. He'll know the hadavas labesa, he'll return back home safely. But otherwise, it's a problem. On all these various tests, says the Gemara V'lav Musi, a person should not go ahead and do this dil mochal shadaite, because you see these aren't really absolute. And if in fact, if it comes back negative, if it might weaken his resolve, and discourage him. Umisra mazla, and that in itself can impact his mazel, impact his hatzlacha. Right? The person's happy and in a positive disposition, that strengthens his resources, his spiritual resources, his mazel, his chance of success, and likewise in the reverse. Amar Abai, talking about Simonim Toivim, actually we do it on Rosh Hashanah. Hashta da Amar Simonim Ilsi, now that we've established that, in fact, there is something to these this concept of Simonim. He's going back to the Mashiach of the kings, which was done by the stream to provide that good simon, an extra, energy. So likewise, we should do it on Rosh Hashanah in a positive sense. So a person should accustom himself to nechsi, to take a look, to gaze, to observe on Rosh Hashanah. Take a look at certain vegetables, which are very successful, which grow very quickly and successfully. Kara, a pumpkin, verubia, some tilson plant, karti, leek, vasilka, beets, vatamri, and dates. These things grow very quickly. And observe them, and that puts a person in the right frame of mind. And Farshim will explain, it's not just the seeing, it's the symbolism and the internalization. A person thinks to himself, okay, look how quick we can succeed, look how quick we can get on the right track, and that will encourage him to do the right thing and have a successful year. In our case, we actually eat many of these things, and we say the special Yiratzon, which again the Chavetz Chaim says is mainly directed at our own, resolve, our own personal innards, to motivate us to, in fact, improve our conduct. Amalur of Misharshi Lebrei. So Misharshi tells his sons, Ki ba'isu meil umigmiri kami rabaichu. When you wish to enter and learn Torah by your teachers, gar smasnis, first prepare, right? Make the laning, learn the background information, va'alu kami rabaichu, and then enter the Rebbe and listen to the lecture, which will provide enhancement on what you have learned. And when you sit in front of the Rebbe, observe his mouth. That's how you connect to him and connect to the words that he's saying in a very direct way. The pasuk says, your eyes should be focused on your Rebbe without distraction. And when in fact you go learn, try to find a place near a river, which again is a siman toiv, just like the water flows continuously. Shmat Saichu, likewise your learning should go on eternally without interruption. Visivu akilkali de masa machasi. Another good piece of advice in terms of where to live. Choose to live even on the dumps, the garbage dumps of Mata Machasya, because the people there are good. So even if you have to live in a dump place, it's better there than living in a city, which is perhaps more luxurious. Rather than sitting and living apadni in the palaces, the pumbadisa of that city, where the people aren't as complimentary as the people of Mata Machasya. So better have a good environment, even if you have to forego conveniences, rather than living in pumbadisa where the people were less than honest. As we learned back in other Gemaras, they weren't the most upstanding people. Tav gildana sarya. Better to have a small fish, which is not so fresh. The mata machase, to eat a mata machase. Better hang out there, even if it means giving up. Mikutcha de rami kepi. Rather than eating the kutach, the luxurious dip, a milk dip of rami kepi, which can crash the mountains, the boulders down. Basically, it's not so healthy to have this. The kutach. Others learned that he was basically sending the same message again. Have a lesser diet than a more higher standard of living, but it's amongst people that are haughty, rami kipi, like mountains, like boulders. Live in a humble place, even if you have to forego, luxuries. Back to the Meshicha of the Shemen on the kings. So this is where Chana sang to Hashem, Rama Karni Belakoi. She spoke about a keren, a horn. What does that mean? Rama Karni Rama Pachi. that the kings, her descendants, which were recipients of the Shemen HaMishcha, which came from a keren, taken out of a horn, which contained the oil, Rama Karni, their status remained high, they were successful, rather than the kings that got their oil from a pach, from a simple, container. For instance, David Shlomo Shenimshechu b'keren, David Shlomo who got their Meshicha through a keren, so keren starts narrow and it, widens and gets longer and longer. That's a good siman for success. Nimshal Malchus, in fact, their Malchus lasted long, as opposed to Shaul and also V'yehu Shenimshechu b'pach. Their oil came out of a pach. Their Malchus was short-lived. Lo nimshecha Malchus. Okay, let's go back to the Mishnah, where we learn that only HaMoshiach b'Shemen HaMishcha, a Kohen Gadol, who was a recipient of the Shemen HaMishcha, who was anointed by this oil. In fact, he will bring a par if he sins, as opposed to a Kohen Gadol who was not lucky enough to get the Shemen HaMishcha. Rather, he just had the Meruba Begadim, he was given the extra Begadim. He doesn't have the din of par upon sinning. Tanarabanan. So we have the Brisa describing the Kohen HaMashiach who sinned and brings a special carbon a par. Mashiach Yochel Melech, perhaps the Mashiach is speaking about the king, because he too was a recipient of the Shemen HaMishcha. Tamalayma comes the pasuk and says Kohen. No, he's a Kohen HaMashiach was speaking about the Kohen Gadol who was anointed. I Kohen. If the Torah would only say the word Kohen, Yochel, I would think, even a Meruba Begadim who never got the Shemen also brings that unique carbon. Tamalayma, the pasuk continues, HaKohen HaMashiach, to tell you only one who is anointed. Mashiach. If the pasuk would only say Mashiach without the Hey HaMashiach, Yochel, I would think Moshiach Malchama, even the leader, which simply led them to battle. Right? He was also sort of a Kohen Gadol. He also qualifies for the special carbon. Tamalayma comes the pasuk V'HaKohen HaMashiach, the Kohen HaMashiach She'enu Mashiach Al Gabav, was speaking about the Kohen Gadol on the highest level, who outranks the other Kohanim Gedolim. So we exclude the Kohen HaMashiach from this halach. My mashma. Where do you see that in the words HaKohen HaMashiach? Where does the extra hey teach us? Because Amarav, Rabbi told us regarding something else, regarding the Gid HaNasha, that it only applies to the right thigh of the animal, because it says Hayarech. The extra hey tells you HaMiyumanes Shebiyarech. Miyumanes means the most notable, the most prominent of the thighs, meaning the right one. Achanami as well. The word HaMashiach means the Kohen Gadol of the highest stature, Hamiyuman, Sheba Meshuchim. So although there were several Meshuchim, there was the Kohen Mashiach Muhammad. No, he's the highest, and only he gets the par. Amamar. So let's go back to the Brisa. The word Mashiach perhaps refers to the king, Yachal Melech. And he brings a par. Asks the Gemara, Melech? Paru Demaisi? Does then a king bring a par? Soyer Demaisi. I thought the king brings a soyer. Israch, no. We still have to highlight this and point this out, because I would think that there were two options available to the king. Al Shigas Masa, if he sinned merely by way of the act, Yavi Sor brings a special carbon Sor. But if there are two components involved, Al Helam Davar, if in addition to the actual act, it was preceded by Helam Davar, intellectual misjudgment, a ruling which led to it, Yavi par. So if he made an errant ruling and then he followed through, he has to bring he has to bring a par. It switches from a sor to a par. Yavi par. Kamashman, the point of the pasuk is to say no. A par is specific to the Kohen Mashiach and not to the Melech. And in fact, Ein bein Moshuach b'Shemen HaMishcha, the Mishnah points out this difference between a Kohen Moshuach and a Kohen who is merely Meruba Begadim, although they're both Kohanim Gedolim, but since he was anointed, he wasn't. Only the anointed one has the ability to bring a par as opposed to the other one. Masnisin, our Mishnah, which differentiates between the Meruba Begadim and the other one, is the like Rab Meir, unlike Rab Meir, who holds that even a Kohen Meruba Begadim, even if he wasn't anointed with that oil, he was simply given the extra Begadim to wear, he too achieves this high status and brings this special unique carbon a par. The like Rab Meir, because according to Rab Meir Tani, we have a brisa that Meruba Begadim may be par. Habal mitzvahs. The Rab Meir holds even a Meruba Begadim brings a par, but V'lo Hedlo Chacham Chacham disagree. My time to Rab Meir, why does Rab Meir equate him to the anointed one. The Sani of Abraisa Mashiach. The pasuk speaks about a Mashiach, an anointed one. Ainly Ella Moshe B'Shalom Mishcha. Perhaps the power only applies to the anointed Kohen Gadol. Meruba Begadim. And what about the Meruba Begadim? Tamaloymar HaKohen HaMashiach. So the extra word HaKohen covers the Meruba Begadim as well. And although we just learned that the words are needed for the other, to rule out the king, but the Mepharshim explain that Rameir held that there was no need to have the Lashon HaKohen, so that we don't mistakenly think that the word Mashiach is going on the king, because we find that the king was given a different label. He was called Nasi, so he holds there's no need, there would be no room to think that Mashiach is going on the king. So all it needs to say is Mashiach, and we know it's the Kohen Gadol, the anointed one. The extra word HaKohen covers Meruba Begadim as well. Okay, so you've established that the Mishnah, which excludes the Meruba Begadim, is going like the Rabban. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the Mishnah, where the Mishnah draws different lines, different distinctions between an active Kohen Gadol and a Kohen Gadol who was merely substituting as no longer active because the original Kohen came back, right? As the Mishnah continues, Ein Bein Kohen Mishamish, there isn't much difference between an active Kohen Gadol who's currently serving, the Kohen Sha'avar, versus the Kohen who had taken his place temporarily and is now relegated to backup. He's no longer active. There's no difference between the two. They're both still considered Kohanim Gedolim, only with respect to two halachas. Ella Pariyam Kippurim, the special Pariyam Kippur, only the active Kohen Gadol brings back. Her Seif on the twice daily Mincha is only brought by the active Kohen Gadol, not by the backup Kohen Gadol. Now that halacha, that distinction, Asan Rameir, is consistent with Rameir's Shita. So here we say that we're not going like Rameir, but part B of the Mishnah is following Rameir, the Sanya. Where do we find Rameir's Shita in this regard? So the Kohen Gadol experienced a psul. He became tamei, he couldn't serve anymore at this point. Va'avar, and he was removed temporarily. Uminu kohen achar tachtav. And, okay, so they appointed a new kohen instead. A new Kohen Gadol. And then the original Kohen Gadol, Ruvain, who had left his position temporarily, came back to into service. So now we have two Kohanim Gedolim available to do avodah. What happens? Harishan Chayzl Avedasais. Ruvain returns to his post. Va'asheni and Shimon, the substitute, Kol mitzvahs kunalav. All the halachas Kohen Gadol apply to him as well. Pretty much all, except for those 2 points that we mentioned before. Rabbi Meir. Here you go. So Rabbi Meir is the one who holds that the substitute Kohen Gadol still retains his status. However, Rabbi Yosi Omer no. Rishon Chayzl Avedasai. Ruvain comes back into service. V'sheni, but Shimon ein aroi. He's in limbo. He can't serve as a Kohen Gadol nor as a regular Kohen. Ein aroi loy l'Kohen Gadol v'loy l'Kohen Hedyoit. And we'll see in a minute why. In fact, Omer Rabbi Yosi, I have a story to back this up. Masad was a story with a Kohen Gadol by the name of B'Yosef ben Elim from the town of Mitzipoiri. Shira be'psul be'Kohen Gadol. So he was a Kohen Gadol and he became unfit. And then they appointed. There was a Kohen Gadol who became unfit, and he, Yosef ben Elim, served as a temporary substitute. Uminuhu tachtav, so he was appointed instead. And then the original Kohen Gadol came back. Uba masel nechacham. So the story was presented. The shiloh was presented to Chacham. What should we do? They said, Rishon chadav asay. The original one comes back. V'sheni, and the new one, Einoi roi. Loy l'Kohen Gadol, v'loy l'Kohen Hedyot. Yosef ben Elim cannot serve as a Kohen Gadol nor as a Kohen Hedyot. Why? Kohen Gadol, well, he can't be a Kohen Gadol. Mishum Eva. It's going to create animosity between himself and the other acting Kohen Gadol. You can't have two at once. And what about Kohen Hedyot? Why can't he just be a regular Kohen? Mishum Malim b'Kodesh v'Meridin. You don't downgrade. We're meant to upgrade in matters of holiness. So once he was up there, he can't be downgraded. So he's sort of in limbo. So bottom line is, in this brayso we find Rameir Shita, who says that the acting Kohen Gadol, likewise the substitute Kohen Gadol, are both considered Kohanim Gedolim. So now back to our Mishnah, Reisha, the first part of the Mishnah, which says that a Kohen Gadol, who's merely Meruba Begadim, who was never anointed, can't bring a par. That's going like the Rabbanon. And say for the next part of the Mishnah, which equates between the acting and the substitute, that's Reb Meir. Right? It's unusual to have one Mishnah split between two authors. Amar Chizda, yeah, and we're forced to say so. Reisha, in fact, is the Rabbanon. The Seifa, the next part is Reb Meir. Rav Yosef Amar, I have another solution. Rebbe, the author of the Mishnah is, of our Mishnah is Rabbi Akkad, Rabbi Daniel Kororbkin. And he adopted two opinions. And in fact, he recorded the Mishnah. He wrote the Mishnah reflective of both these positions. So he adopted Shitas Rabbanon, the opinion of Rabbanon regarding the first question, and the opinion of Rabbi regarding the second question. Rava Amar, he has another solution. Reb Shimon, the Mishnah was authored by Reb Shimon, who actually held both things. Regarding one matter, he held like Reb Meir. Regarding the other matter, he disagreed with Reb Meir. So it's Reb Shimon speaking. Now, what do we find? Reb Shimon's opinion regarding the acting Kohen Gadol and the substitute Kohen Gadol, they're both on the same status. The Sanya, the Vorim, Sheben Kohen Gadol, Kohen Hedid. Elohim. There are various halachas which distinguish between a Kohen Gadol and a Kohen and a regular Kohen. What are they? A long list. Par habal kol mitzvah is a special par, bringing that the Kohen Gadol brings upon violating an aver, right? So that's special for the Kohen Gadol. Par Yom Kippurim, the special personal par that he brings on Yom Kippur. Vasir Sa'efa, the twice daily mincha. V'loi pareya, he can't let his hair grow as an expression of mourning. V'loi pareya, nor can he tear his clothing as an expression of mourning. Av'loi pareya milamata, but he can tear on the bottom where it's not so noticeable. V'hedit, as opposed to the ordinary Kohen, milamala, he can tear on top without any restriction. Ve'in metam l'kroivim, a Kohen Gadol cannot allow himself to engage in his departed relatives. Even if it's a close relative, he can become tamei. Muzar al-Absula must marry a Basula. Vasa Balmani, he may not marry a widow. Machzer, v'machzer surit seyach. Right? If the person who killed inadvertently, who's now escaped to the city of refuge, when the Kohen Gadol passes away, he comes back home. Makrav Einain. Kohen Gadol could engage in service in the Mikdash, even if he's an Einain, a close relative passed away on that day. He can still proceed, but he can't consume karbanas on that day. Nor can he even take a part of the carbon to eat at night, because he can only do avoida, not achila at this point. Makrav chelik baroish. Whenever he chooses, he can take any carbon, and choose to be makrav throughout the year. Likewise, he can take and consume any part of the carbon. He gets priority over his brethren. He serves with the 8 special garments. And all the services in Kippur can only be conducted by Kohen Gadol. And if he enters the Mikdash while he's tamei inadvertently, or he ate karbanis in that state, he doesn't bring a carbon like we discussed the other day. So all these uniquenesses, they apply even to a Kohen Gadol who never got anointed. Rather, he only got to wear the 8 begadim. That's how he was appointed. So all these halachas apply to him as well. He's pretty much on the same status, except that he's not eligible to bring the par. Chutz mi par, hamevi al kol mitzvahs. That one is unique to the Kohen Gadol who was anointed. Okay, so this is consistent with our Mishnah as well. V'chulon, furthermore, says the Bryce, so all these dinim, noihagen, Mashiach she'avar. Oh, what about the active Kohen Gadol versus the substitute? It applies even to the Mashiach she'avar, the substitute who's now no longer serving. So all the halachas apply to him as well. Chutz, except for those 2 points mentioned earlier, chutz mi par Yom Kippurim, Vasir Seif, except for the Yom Kippur carbon and the twice daily mincha. So clearly, whoever's speaking in this brisa, I'm going to see soon it's Rabbi Shimon speaking. Regarding the first question, he holds like Reb Meir, that a merubah begadim will not bring a par. Regarding the second question, he holds like the Rabbanon. Regarding the first question, that a merubah begadim will not bring the par. And regarding the second question, he holds like Reb Meir, that the substitute Kohen Gadol has the same status, pretty much as the acting Kohen Gadol. V'chulon, all those halachas, doesn't apply to the Kohen who leads them into battle. Except for those 5 personal restrictions and limitations that are actually recorded in the parsha, in Vayikra Chaf Aleph, where the pasuk speaks about the Kohen Gadol. So anything contained clearly in that parsha, which is 5 in total, applied to all the Kohanim Gedolim, even the one who merely leads them into battle, and it wasn't really meant, to lead them, lead the service in the Beis HaMikdash. What are these 5 things, which are sort of more personal? Lo pareah v'lo parim, he can't let his hair grow, nor can he tear his clothing as a sign of mourning. So priya means he can't let his hair grow regardless of mourning or not mourning, right? And prima means he can't tear his nor can he tear his clothing. Vein metamali kroivim, nor can he become tummy to a relative who passed away, right? Umuzar al absul, he must marry absul, but Ramah can't marry an almana. Umachser ritzeach, and the ritzeach returns upon his death. Rabbi Yehuda. V'chacham einay machser, they hold that Mashiach Muhammad's death will not allow the ritzeach to come back home. That only happens through a Kohen Gadol whose function was to lead service in the Beis HaMikdash itself. Okay, in any case, again, in this brayso we find a reference to the par that a Kohen Gadol brings, and it only applies to a Kohen who is Mashuach, who got anointed, but a Merubav Gadol will not bring a par al-kol mitzvahs. That's like the Shittas Hachamim in our Mishnah. And regarding the other question, we find that a substitute Kohen Gadol, even though he's no longer active, is treated the same as the acting Kohen Gadol. That's the Grameir. And this is Reb Shimon speaking. He adopted both opinions. How do you know this brayso is Reb Shimon? There's no mention of Reb Shimon's name in the brayso. Because who's the shita that holds that a Kohen Gadol is patur al tumas mishkadashav upon entering the Mikdash b'tumah? That's Reb Shimon. Back on Naftes we had Reb Shimon speaking. So this brayso is Reb Shimon speaking again. And like we said, he adopted Reb Meir's shita regarding this point, Chacham regarding the other point, and apparently our Mishnah, which likewise took this track, is Reb Shimon speaking. So we spoke about the fact that all those halachas, all those higher standards, so to speak, will not apply to Mashiach Muhammad except for these 5 personal points. But not really, how do we know that in fact these 5 points apply to the Mashiach Muhammad as well? We have a brayso. That's the standard Kohen Gadol. Who was anointed with the Semen HaMishcha, the Mashiach Muhammad is coming to add the Mashiach Muhammad as well. So he was given the Begadim, to become Kohen Gadol. Applying to a Kohen Gadol who never got the Semen HaMishcha. Rather, he was inaugurated by way of the Begadim. Al Kulan, on all 3 of these Kohanim Gedolim. Whoever the pasuk continues and says, he must adhere to higher standards. Rosh lo yifra, don't let your hair grow. Gadav lo yifra, you shouldn't tear his begadim. V'aklat nafesh meis lo yav, you shouldn't become tummy even to a relative. Yochel, okay, so we see it applies to all of them. Yochel yukulam makrivim einin, perhaps they get additional perks as well. So even when they're an einin on the day of the close relative's passing, so just like the regular Kohen Gadol can serve in the Mikdash without interruption, likewise at Mashiach Muhammad as well? No, Talmud Lema, the pasuk says, Ki nezer shemen mishchas elakav alav. Alav means alav. V'leil chaveri. So only him, only the actual anointed one, can serve while he's an oineh, but not the Mashiach Muhammad. Ask the Gemara, V'achash chalkei hakosim. So now that the Torah drew that line, separated the Kohen Gadol, who is a Mashiach Muhammad, from the standard Kohanim Gedolim, so Yachel just like he doesn't have the same perks, perhaps he doesn't have the same restrictions either. He doesn't have to marry a psul. The pasuk says, "V'hu isha b'psula yikach." The extra word "v'hu" tells you even a Mashiach Muhammad. Actually, whether or not it applies to Mashiach Muhammad. So again, back to the pasuk, "V'hu isha b'psula yikach." He has to marry a psula. He can't marry an almana. Acha shachil hakasav riba. The reason why the pasuk had to add the word "v'hu," because since we find that the Mashiach Muhammad was chilek HaTorah, differentiated him, separated him from the rest, sort of bumped him down in a sense. So I would think perhaps he doesn't need to marry a Besula, and he can marry an Almana, Riba. Well, comes back to Torah and says no, he's included as well. Divrei Bishmael. So clearly, according to Bishmael, it applies to Mashiach Muhammad. Rekiva Aimer, no, it doesn't apply to Mashiach Muhammad. He doesn't have to marry a Besula. In fact, the point of the pasuk is like this: Ainli Ella Shava Machmas Kirya. It's talking about a Kohen Gadol who had to leave his post. So I think Perhaps only a kohen who left temporarily because he was a balkari became tamei, and sooner or later he'll be back in his post. So perhaps the point of the pasuk is to tell you, I don't think that just because he's currently not serving, he can marry anybody. No. Comes the Torah and says, even when he's tamei, he still has to adhere to higher standards in terms of who's going to marry. What about machmas mumin? What if a kohen was disabled because of a permanent blemish? He's not returning to his post. Minayin, how do we know that he too must marry the right person? Talmud covers even this kohen gadol. He must marry a besula. Okay, Boimene Rava has the question of Rav Nachman. Mashiach shen starei, kohen gadol, who became a mitzayra. Ma'al ba'amona can marry an amona. So the question is like this: Mitcha dochi or miftar pater? Does the Kahuna G'dayla status push him away from marrying an almana? Meaning, it disables him from marrying an almana, and that's a permanent status. So even if he's currently no longer serving because he's permanently blemished, he has to keep away from the almana. Or you can say miftar pater. It's like a ptur, it's like a temporary thing. While he's serving, he can't do it. But if he's a mitzayra, he's not going back to a kahuna gedola to serve. So perhaps he can marry an almana. He didn't have an answer to the question. Zimna, a different time, Papa was sitting, he was asking this very same question. Amalei. So who responded? Huna Breder Nachman. He responded to Rav Papa Tanina. We can resolve this by way of a brayse. The brayse that we just quoted a minute ago. Perhaps this restriction only applies to a kohen gadol who's just temporarily disabled. But avar machmas mumin, menayim, what if he left the post because of a serious blemish and he's not going back there? Does he too have to marry a besula? Tamalayim abahu. It covers him as well. And there's your answer. Rav Papa was so excited, and having his long-standing doubt resolved. Come. So he got up, he jumped up, nashki bereshe. He planted a kiss on Hunabred of Nachman's head, v'yavli brati, and he gave him his daughter as a wife. He was so excited. They clarified his shayla. Says the Mishnah, kohen gadol, poira milamata. So if a close relative passes away, kohen gadol can do a slight tearing, not your standard conventional, but he can tear on bottom. V'edit milamala, a regular kohen can do kriya on top, near the neck, by the neck hole, as is customary. Kohen gadol makrav oinen. Kohen gadol can bring karbanis even while he's in oinen. But he can't actually eat the karbanis at that point. But regular kohen lo makrav lo eichel. He's locked out at this point when he's in oinen. Not only can't he eat, he can't serve as well. Now kohen gadol can tear on bottom. What does on bottom mean? Rav explains lamata means lamata mamash, all the way on bottom. Okay, where it's not so visible. As opposed to lamala. Lamala means lamala mamash. He can't tear on top, but he can tear on bottom. Okay, so top means, near the neck. That he can't do, but on bottom he could. Shmuel Amar lamata means lamata makam safa. Shmuel says he can tear on bottom, towards the top, but not off the hem, around the neckline. Rather, he drops down a bit and tears over there. Okay, so it's not as pronounced. Lamala means lamala makam safa. He can't do lamala, which means from the hem itself, from the seam. That he can't do. Zeved and Betzaver both are speaking up at the neck area. So you shouldn't do it all the way on top. Just drop down a bit. Meisvi. Here comes a kasha on Shmuel. I'll call him Meisam Kulam. So regarding any relative that passes away, person could choose to do the havdalah, the kriya, tear off the end, right? If he chooses, he can go a bit down and drop down, just tear the material, not from the the hem, not from the end. But in terms of doing kriya for parents who passed away, that has to be more pronounced. Mavdil, he has to tear it starting from the end. Ask the Gemara, how could Shmuel explain that a kohen gadol can do kriya, a bit lower? Even the Ba'al Havakera, since we find that elsewhere, other than father or mother, is considered halachically valid for kriya. Kriya kan b'gadav yifrem. So we apply to the kohen gadol. Don't tear your begadim. If he's doing a halachically valid kriya, Pasuk says he can't. Kohen Gadol can't do Kriya. Answers the Gemara, Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yudah, who says that unless it starts at the end, it's not halachically valid. The Amar who says, Kol kera she'ein madlo saf shaloi. Any tear which doesn't start at the saf at the end, ein ela kera shel tiflis, it's not really a valid Kriya. It's not a fulfillment of the Kriya obligation, in which case, when the Kohen Gadol does it, it's merely an expression of mourning, but it's not really halachically considered a Kriya, in which case it's consistent with the Pasuk, which doesn't allow him to do a proper Kriya. Ask the Gemara, Umi Islev Rabbi Yudah, Kriya b'Kohen Gadol. But then, does then Rabbi Yudah allow a Kohen Gadol to do any Kriya? Any tear? Vatani will learn in a brayso, he can't do it at all. Ilu Namar Reish LaYifra, Beged LaYifra, the Pasuk would say, Reish, a head should not be uncovered. Should not be, hair shouldn't grow long. Uveged, a beged LaYifraim, he shouldn't tear. So the Kohen Gadol shouldn't be doing para on a head and kriya on a beged. Whose beged? Whose head? Whose hair? I would think. It's not speaking about his own self. Kohen Gadol shouldn't be uncovering the hair of a woman, a saita, or tearing a begadim. He shouldn't be doing it. Only a regular kohen does it as part of the process discussed in Masechah Saita. That's what I would think. No, Esrei Shayla Yifra. If God Yifra, the pasuk is speaking about his own personal self. She'ena b'friya frima kalika. He can't do any friya frima, which means to say he can't tear anything. The Rabbi Yudah. So clearly, Rabbi Yudah doesn't allow any tearing. Rishmal Aimer. He can't tear the way everybody else does, but in a more toned down way, it's okay. Ella, rather Kohen Gadol is going to tear a bit lower. Hu melamata, he tears lower down. Regular kohen on top. But clearly, Rabbi Yudah disagrees. No tearing by the kohen allowed at all. And Shmuel, who he said is in line with Rabbi Yehuda, allows a Kohen Gadol to do a slight tear. Answers the Gemara, you're right. Shmuel is like Rabbi Yehuda b'chada. On one hand, knows like Rabbi Yehuda regarding the first point that at that location, lower down, it's not really a fulfillment of the mitzvah of kriya, and therefore the Kohen Gadol can do it. But the Kohen Gadol can do it. He disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda, who doesn't allow Kohen Gadol to do any tearing at all. Continues the Mishnah. Let's say there is a question of priority. You're faced with two karbanis, with two things you can do, two mitzvahs. Which one comes first? The one that's more frequent, the one that comes more often. Comes before the other one. Likewise, if you have two things, and one of them is more kadosh, more holy, that comes first. Says the Mishnah, I'll give you an example. Par HaMashiach or Par Ha'eda. Okay, this is sort of a summary of Al Masechta. A Kohen Gadol sinned, he has to bring a par. The public sin, they have to bring a par too. You have two of them at the same time. Okay, believe it or not. Which one comes first? Par HaMashiach comes before Koydem, the Par Ha'eda B'chal Masav, for its entire process, and the Gemara will explain why Kohen Gadol's carbon comes first. But not really, how do we know that the more frequent thing comes first? Amar Abaye, Amar Kro. So the karbanos musaf, ayam tayvim, come in addition to the regular standard fare, regular karbanos, the carbon tamid that comes in the morning. This comes in addition. This comes in addition to the morning bike, to the oilas biker, which is the daily oilas hatamid. Isn't this redundant? Michtik siv. Once it says oilas habiker, this is in addition to the morning bike. We know which one it is. It's the oilas hatamid. Lamali, why do you have to add that description as well? The pasuk is telling us a formula. The pasuk is teaching us. It's a general formula. Called the tadira kadma. The reason why the oilas habiker comes first is because it's tamid, because it's frequent, it's common. Likewise, tadir always comes first. The Holy One takes priority. For instance, a kayin, right? He's given the first aliyah. Minol, how do we know that Mekudesh comes first? Matan Rabbi Shmuel. V'kidashtai is the pasuk by the Kehanim, meant to sanctify him, lift him up on a pedestal, regarding all matters of holiness. For instance, of Tayach Rishon, to give him the first aliyah in the shul, Levarach Rishon, to give him the opportunity to do the zimun when you bench, V'litamana Yafa Rishon. Some Farshim explain this, talking about karbanis, right? You give him the choicest, cut of meat of the carbon, the best part, right? So he gets the priority in terms of matters of kedusha, and that's how we learn that it is so. Okay, let's just recap today's daf. We discussed the fact that the Arain and all its associated items were hidden, including the Shemen Mishcha. Going forward, they would use Shemen Afar Simoin for anointment. We discussed we described how they would apply the oil. Do it near the stream as a good simon. We discussed other things to be done as a good simon. We discussed the fact that our Mishnah, on the one hand, holds like the Chachamim, that only a Mashiach, a Kohen Mashiach who is anointed, brings the par, not so a Merubah Begadim. Regarding the other question, the active Kohen Gadol versus the substitute Kohen Gadol, they both have similar status, except for two things, the Parei Mekippurim, Nasir Seifa, and that corresponds with the Rameir Shita, as we discussed. There's a Kohen called Mashiach Mechama. He doesn't have many of these halachis, but the 5 things which are delineated in the Parsha of Kohen Gadol apply to him as well. The 5 personal things, because he too has to maintain higher standards and live accordingly. We discussed Priya and Prima, so Kohen Gadol shouldn't be doing your standard Kriya, but he can do a slight Kriya. We have 2 Pshatim, Rav and Shmuel. We discussed that Tadir comes first, and likewise Mekudesh. All the best to you, and Atzlacha Rav.